Welcome to Speaking of Higher Ed, Conversations on Teaching and Learning. I'm your host, Andrew Everett. This podcast is produced by the Center for Instructional Innovation at Augusta University. We release new episodes the third Wednesday of each month in spring and fall semesters. Please take a moment to rate, review, subscribe, and share this podcast. This is episode 13. Our guests today are
Jenn Rose,
JoAnn Edmond.
Thank you both for being here. Jenn is a faculty and instructional developer here at Augusta University, and Jo is the Director of Instructional Support here at Augusta University. Both of you are my colleagues from the Center for Instructional Innovation. So that listeners can get to know a little about each of you, if you will please tell us briefly the professional path that brought you here to Augusta University. Jenn, let's start with you.
Sure. So I have an undergraduate degree in English and then went to work professionally and have some diverse experience across various industries, and then decided to pursue a master's degree. While I was working for Club Car, actually, finished a Master's of Science in Instructional and Performance Technology and really kind of fell in love with the whole field of learning science and helping those who help others learn how to use technology proficiently and to the advantage of what they do professionally. So that's kind of how I came into doing the work that I do, and then along the way came to work at Augusta University.
Wonderful. Jo?
So my journey is a little bit different than Jen's. I started off as a military. So I retired with the United States Air Force, 20 years military. And how I got into the whole entire journey of instructional design was simply because I was at a unit and they had a lot of brand new equipment there, and they needed people to actually teach people how to train other folks, and then also to provide a training plan, curriculum, to provide the whole entire suite. So that's exactly what I did. So I went ahead and got my master's in instructional design, and I started working, and that's how I just kind of fell into this career path. And the interesting part about AU is that I just applied for the job, and I was actually applying for AV technician. And then they were like, oh, hey, we have a better position for you. And that's how I got here.
Well, I'm glad you're both here, and I'm glad I get to learn from both of you every day. So let's get into the topic, which is really a little different from normal. Y'all have prepared a top 5 list of helpful tips to start the semester strong. Number 1, the syllabus, a foundational document for any course, but it can be hard to get students to read the syllabus and to refer back to the syllabus as needed throughout the semester. So Jenn, what tips do you have?
Sure. So first of all, we at CII have created some tools and job aids to help with this task, and one of which is a syllabus template, which is a Word document you can download. So if, for example, if you've never created a course syllabus before, that is one tool that you could use to walk you through the process. But overall, I think it's really important to embrace a learner-centered mindset when it comes to creating tools like a syllabus, which essentially can serve as a blueprint for your course. And I think it's kind of an unspoken assumption, I would say, with, for example, Brightspace, our learning management system. The folks who create that sort of assume that those who teach online or use online courses for whatever purpose in their deliveries, they'll have some sort of blueprint going into the actual task of constructing a course. So a syllabus, especially a learner-centered or learner-focused syllabus, can be really helpful for students, especially when we think about institutionally our goals of improving student retention, things like that. Creating a learner-focused or learner-centered syllabus is one step or one tool, one teaching technique that our faculty can use to really help our students and directly support the institutional goal of improving learner retention.
And one thing that Jenn did bring up is all about the students. It's that centered on the students. And by having a syllabus there, just the simple act of putting a syllabus into D2L, it will start building that community that you want for your learners to be in.
Mm-hmm,
so
true.
It's so important to use the syllabus. And CII, we have all sorts of templates and an AU course shell that can be used just for that purpose.
Mm-hmm, that's true. So another tool specifically within the AU course shell, just to build on what JoAnn brought up, is a syllabus template that is in HTML format. So even if you don't, you just teach face-to-face and you want to place your syllabus online, but you don't want to have to mess with the formatting, things like that, we help provide a tool that can sort of shorten the timeline that it takes to go from zero to having an online course syllabus for your students. So hopefully some of these tools will help in that process of creating a learner-focused course and using learner-centered design techniques.
All right. Well, let's move to number 2, LMS integration, things like the textbook. You want to get started early before the semester, setting these up. Jo, what can you tell us about that?
So the sooner that you do this, the better, because there's a lot of different LTIs out there that these colleges uses, and we have to rely on another group to get that done. So if you need to share a course, put that in, reach out to us and we will help you. If you need a external learning tool, an LTI for a textbook, or you have course information that you're getting from another a vendor, please put that information now so we can help and assist and make sure that you are setting up your course for success for the beginning of the semester. At any time, we are more than happy to help. This is part of building that community. You want to create content, you want to create a course that the students want to go to, and that is what is so important about doing it now. So reach out to us. We're here. We're here.
Anything to add, Jenn?
I would just say make sure that students know where to reach out for help, and as do faculty. Like, get to know your colleges or your support staff who are available to help with whatever comes up along the way, whether it is planning and preparing ahead of time to use, for example, a publisher's resources through an integrated link in your online course. Anything beforehand, get it set up early, get it set up ahead of time, test it out. ISAs or instructional support staff, specialists on staff are super helpful when it comes to testing things out from a student's perspective and even surfacing some more nuanced potential challenges because of their experience with every possible scenario you can imagine in the field. I mean, one of the best ways to learn any sort of tool is to have to fix 8 million issues that happen along with it. But setting up your publisher links ahead of time can be super helpful. And then if anything crops up along the way, just knowing who as an instructor to reach out to at the publisher for troubleshooting is helpful, and or providing guidance to your students ahead of time and making sure, giving them reminders along the way who to reach out to should anything crop up. Because I know, and I've watched our very talented team of professionals who provide support to students and faculty solve some crazy problems in very little time. But if they're unaware that they're happening, then they can't help. So make sure everybody knows who to reach out to early, often, and give them reminders about who those folks are and that they're available and ready to help.
All right, wonderful. So the syllabus, LMS integration, number 3, course communication planning. Jenn, how can we prepare for effective course communication?
Right. So there are some tools that are available in various systems, one of which is your notification settings in the LMS. And so when you think about setting up things like a communication plan or communication policies, it's really important to be very clear and explicitly state in ideally your syllabus and give your students reminders about how they can get in touch with you and invite them to use these really specific tools. Like, for example, perhaps you want to use email to communicate, but let's say you want to invite them also to use Microsoft Teams in case they have a quick question they want to ask, but in a more private environment. That's just one tool that the institution provides that can be helpful for, some quicker communications. But in your policy, if you state that, hey, if you have a quick question, feel free to reach out to me via Teams and chat, then that sort of helps create an environment in which students feel much more comfortable. You're building that relationship with your students. You're modeling for them available resources, and then also supporting them. If you can support them, they can support each other. They know what to do. They know how to reach out. But if you state those tools explicitly in your course policy or your course syllabus, wherever you're storing that information, that can be extremely helpful for sort of proactively answering those questions, and then also helping students become prepared to be fully engaged in their learning experience by planning ahead, knowing which tools they're going to need to use throughout their learning experience with you in your course, whatever those tools might be. So be really explicit, document early and often, make sure that they have whatever instructions that they might need or link to them as far as being able to use those tools proficiently and for the purpose of learning in your course, whatever it is that you're teaching.
Jo, what would you add?
So what I would add with communications is simply the communication tools that's available in D2L. So you have announcements. Use those announcements. That's a nice little way to say, hey, this is important. Please pay attention to this. Also, you have the calendar. You can add quizzes. You can add assignments to that calendar so students can keep track of what's happening. And then also email. You can email with inside D2L. Please use it because this is just another way to communicate with your students. So yes, communication is very important. Students need to feel like they are part of this course and you are here to help them in that course.
I'll add on one more thing too. So in your communication, like implementing your communication plan or policy, whatever that might be, a helpful tool in your quiver as you plan ahead of time is to use some elements such as announcements to schedule ahead some anticipated or sort of touch point areas for your course. For example, let's say you set up a series of practice quizzes and you want to encourage your students to use those sort of formative, learning tools that you've set up ahead of time. You could schedule some announcements ahead of time and use something like a replacement string to sort of personalize that experience a bit more for your students. So also I'll mention we have had some varying feedback from faculty on the use of tools such as replacement strings. And I would say use them, but use them with care. If you have students who they prefer to be referred to by a different name other than what is like legally in their paperwork, et cetera, they can submit a request to the registrar to have their preferred name updated, which means that that change would cascade through to systems such as D2L, the LMS that we use here, or Brightspace. And so that sort of change can really help improve the student's experience overall. So I would encourage everybody to take advantage of some of those tools and processes that are available to help build that community with your students and build on that relationship with student to student and student instructor especially, and then take advantage of that pre-game time that you have, so to speak, to plan ahead with those communications. Get as much of that scheduled ahead of time so that you can focus on actually teaching and doing some other things during the delivery of the semester.
Absolutely. Communication is important, but it is time consuming. And I do want to go back to the email in D2L because I make sure I initiate all of my student emails from D2L to make sure I'm emailing the correct student. So that's just another reason to start there with that tool. You don't want to make a mistake.
Exactly. It's very easy to do it.
It is. Sure is, especially when you get in a hurry because, again, it's time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
All right. Well, number 4, feedback, timely and substantive feedback. Time, again, gets away from us, but we want to provide good feedback for students so they know where they stand and what they can improve on. It's important, but it needs to come timely. Jo, what tips do you have for us?
So D2L, they provide you with some feedback mechanisms. Use that gradebook. Set it up now for your course. Make sure it matches what your syllabus is saying so you have it correlating. Set up your gradebook now. Then also another thing is rubrics. Rubrics do take time to set up, but if you're working on it now, by the time it's the beginning of the semester, you're going to have that rubric taken care of. And then also there is a check-in survey that's going to be dropped in every single course. And this survey is just going to give like a little gauge on how students feel about this course. And of course, you can change any of the questions. You can do any of that. Just reach out to us and we can help and assist with that process. But feedback is very important.
Yeah, so I just wanted to build on that statement as well. That check-in survey happens automatically in your D2L course. So there's very little work, I should say, required on the instructor's end, whereas they just need to enable the survey. But as JoAnn mentioned, you can just go in and tweak it if you need to, but that's in the survey tool itself within D2L, automatically available. There are also built-in tools for soliciting and collecting feedback from students for instructors that are built into the LMS. And we've actually highlighted one of those, which is the content feedback tool. The actual name for the tool itself kind of varies depending on where you're reading about it. But any item that you place within the content view of a D2L course provides a mechanism by doing so in which students or anyone who's enrolled in that course can actually submit feedback to the instructor about that exact item within the course itself. So when you think about collecting feedback, that's formative, whether it's, during a semester or post-semester, et cetera, you can collect feedback not only on, how am I doing teaching, how are you doing learning, but you can also solicit and collect feedback directly on D2L course content from that content view and from that mechanism. You can export those reports, and then from a perspective of documenting efforts, from your P&T, tenure, et cetera, that would be a really relatively easy mechanism to use to just stash and document semester over semester, year over year, teaching changes or content changes, et cetera, and the impact that they have moving forward in your teaching practice. So just wanted to mention that as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I'll go back again to the rubric. You mentioned the rubric. Mm-hmm. It's a powerful tool there in D2L. It does, like you said, take time to set up, but I find it helpful because it makes it, I think, a little more clear in feedback, but you can, as the instructor, look back over several weeks and really see the progress of the student. Mm-hmm. And because you can't remember each student and everything they've done, it's helpful for kind of catching up on their progress. And especially if you meet with them, then you kind of are up to date, and it's a little easier to have a chat with them. So actually, the rubric is important.
Yeah, that brings up a feature of the system. I think it's sort of undersold, so to speak. But from a more meta or formative perspective as well, how am I doing or how are we doing in this course, it is possible to use something like a private discussion, essentially, discussion board, to use it as a mechanism for coaching students, either one-on-one or in small groups, et cetera. And if you wanted to, you could even attach a formative rubric like that to keep track of what's happening and how they're doing according to specified standards or according to a defined, ladder or process that you're following along the way. So that's another way you could use the system to document that feedback either way, whether it's with peers, your students, if you have a defined process or standards you're working to follow or not, you can really use some of these tools to your advantage to track that progress over time.
Wonderful. So let's recap. The syllabus was first. LMS integration was number 2. Course communication planning third. We just talked about feedback. Number 5. Jo, what's number 5?
Have fun. Have fun teaching. I mean, and I think this is just so undersold because everyone's so stressed. Everyone's trying to rush and get their course set up. Everyone's just so worried about all the students coming in. But this is your subject. This is what you fell in love with. This is what you wanted to do. Have fun with it. Enjoy. Because, once I discovered this whole entire instructional design to instructional technology, I'm like, oh, now I understand. Now I get it. I enjoy doing this. So have fun. Enjoy it. And when you have that type of happiness, that type of joy with doing this job, your students are going to see this. It translates. They're going to see, oh, this instructor really cares. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Right. Moods are infectious. Emotions are infectious. And so when you get to express your passion for what you do professionally, it's pretty exciting. Also, these tools can be really helpful for kind of helping you streamline or minimize some of the administrative burden or overhead that you have and sort of help you focus your effort and your area of focus on what you enjoy, which is the discipline you have chosen to teach and the art of teaching itself. full respect for everything that our faculty do for our students, because we know every single one goes above and beyond for the most part for whatever they can do to help their students learn. I have nothing but respect for them. So we're here to help, and these tools can really serve you, and we're here to help support faculty and teaching staff in leveraging these tools in service of their effort, their teaching, their practice of the art of teaching. So.
Wonderful. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap it up with continuing the conversation question.
Hi, I'm James Garner, Associate Director of the Center for Writing Excellence, and I'm excited to share with you about this great resource. The Center for Writing Excellence, housed within the Pamplin College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, offers personalized writing and speaking support to the entire Augusta University community, including undergraduate students, graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, residents, and faculty. Faculty are encouraged to use the Center's one-on-one consultations, either online or in person, to improve their writing process and meet writing and research goals. Whether you're working on a funding application, a publication, or a presentation, our team of professional writing consultants can help. Learn more about the Center for Writing Excellence at our website, www.augusta.edu/CWE. Contact us by phone at 706-737-1402 or by email at cwe@augusta.edu. We look forward to working with you.
As we wrap up, I want to ask our continuing the conversation question. The tips y'all shared with us are great tips for faculty, but how can these tips also help improve student retention? Jenn?
So they can actually help with some of the behaviors and techniques that have been shown to support retention, including building community, especially in courses, but and also building the relationship between instructor and student. So that is a specific tie to these evidence-based practices that can directly support that goal. Also, yeah.
By providing that feedback, by providing that game plan for the students so they know what to expect in that course, that is a lot, because a lot of students, sometimes they just don't know how they're doing in the course. They don't know where they're at in the course. They have no way to contact the instructor to see what is going on with this course. So just by providing that communication plan, the syllabus, creating that whole entire community, so that student feels like, hey, they really want me here and they want me to learn this. That's really, truly all that you need. That will help retention.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more question. How can faculty here at AU engage with y'all?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So if they start by going to augusta.edu/innovation, they can learn more about our services, and they can request specific support, whether it's a quick consult, brainstorming session, anything like that, to a full-blown project. We have a support or assistance request, a project request on there as well.
Wonderful. JoAnn, anything to add?
No, that's it. And thank you for having me here. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jenn.
Sure. Thanks, Jenn.
Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. I also want to thank our listeners. Please take a moment to rate, review, subscribe, and share. Speaking of higher ed, we release new episodes the third Wednesday of each month in spring and fall semesters. You can find more information on our show page at augusta.edu/innovation. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/AUGCII, and you can also email us at cii@augusta.edu. Speaking of Higher Ed is produced by the Center for Instructional Innovation at Augusta University.